You mentioned you went to jail. You got locked up.
Yes, sir.
How old were you when this happened?
First time I got locked up, 13, but I was going back and forth. I had this thing, breaking in cars, stealing radios, the block punt radios, the Concords, Celica Supras. I could strip one of them clean, make about $300-400. 15 years old, I was rich.
That's good money for 15 at that time.
Good money, man. Yes, sir.
And you end up getting caught?
Several times. Yeah.
Several times. Okay, did you go to Juvenile Hall during any of these times?
Went to Juvenile Hall once. Went to Juvenile Hall. But
what was that like for you?
You know what? It was a fear that I had. People were saying this and that's going to happen when you get to Juvenile Hall, when you get to jail. When I got to Juvenile Hall, it was people I went to school with, people I knew already. It was, it was a lot of new strangers, but people I hadn't seen in a while, that's where they were, in Juvenile Hall. So all the stories were lies. And that's probably one of the worst things that happened to me, is the fact that when I realized that I could maneuver through Juvenile Hall and wasn't no major issues, I had nothing to be afraid of on the streets. You couldn't tell me I'm gonna call the police and they're gonna put you in jail. I'm no longer afraid of jail.
And now, let me ask you, when you say that, we're talking about restorative justice, what you deal with, and it caught my ear when you said you wasn't afraid to go, and because during that era, they still believed in rehabilitation. So you could go in and come out as a form of now punishment. So let me ask you, do you believe that going to Juvenile Hall was also a form of bonding and camaraderie as far as the gangs, because of the elements of growing up together, to where it just was a continuing part of you maturing into the streets and the camaraderie ship?
Yeah, so going to jail at an early age just helped me to meet other bloods, helped me to meet other people who had the same struggles. And we had the same problem in there. There were Crips in there. And the Crips were the dominant, and for every one blood, there were 7 or 8 Crips. So it built a family in there for me. It just solidified who I was going to become in the future. It was no rehabilitation, man. We was going to school on purpose to fight. That was the purpose of going to school, is, man, we going to get down, or find the opportunity to. So, or find a way to bang on each other, to throw up your fingers, and do the fuck you sign under your nose and all that, So, yeah, I didn't get rehabilitated.
Mm-hmm. Now, and I say that because when we was going and started going 71 to 75, before they came up with the juvenile fitness in, they believed in rehabilitation. That's why we could get arrested 40 times within 4 years before that law came out. So that's why I see now, because by then we had 79, I was starting to go to prison, which was a whole new ball game. And the game changed from when you guys were the prey, because you say it's 7-1. When we started going to prison, it changed because of the BGF, Black Guerrilla Families, the UBN started coming out. We became the prey as Crips when we went through that juvenile cycle.
Right.
We turned around and went up to prison, and they started trying to kill us, where it was 7-1 to 8-1. So I understand exactly what you're talking about.
Being outnumbered, did that kind of put you in more of a defensive mode?
That was horrible. Being outnumbered was horrible because, once being outnumbered 7-1, and say 4 dudes fighting 15, 16 dudes, when they didn't knock us out, when they didn't beat the dog shit out of us, it's a horrible feeling, because now my ego is driven again. Now my ego is saying, oh, I could do this. So, everything that was meant to deter me from going where I was going actually was a fast track for me to get there. Getting into fights, getting jumped, all that, and not being, not going unconscious, not, being stabbed and all that. It was a false sense of pride. So we would go back and high five, like, man, we did that. We say we beat them up, even though it's 15, 16, and we black eyes and we busted up, but we felt good that we fought them, which was false sense of pride, and it definitely affected me, made me think, and I was probably 100 pounds, if that, you know what I mean? But it gave me that a boy,
What was high school like for you?
High school was High school was high school. I went to Dorsey High School in South LA. And at the time, it was a predominantly Crip school. So I would be in and out. I would, I wouldn't go to every class. I'd walk around and I would leave and go to the jungle. So I would spend most of my time up in the jungles and, be trying to find a girl or somebody who mama ain't home and we can kick back, that type of stuff. So, high school wasn't a learning experience for me. I just was disconnected.
You dropped out?
Oh yeah, definitely. Dropped out in 11th grade.
What was the jungles like during that time?
The jungles was another family. Everybody knew everybody. You can go to the jungles and buy a $10 bag of weed and we could roll some skinny joints. We rolled probably about 80, 90 joints and sell them $1 per joint and make money. The jungles always had something going on, somewhere to go, something to do. Being in the jungles, there were older guys who would come get some of the younger guys. Like I said, I was skinny. So they knock a hole in the wall, send me in there with a plastic bag, get all the Fila sweatsuits, the Elise, tennis shoes, all that. Come out, bring the bag to them, and I get like a sweat jacket. You know what I mean? I didn't realize I was being used, but it didn't matter. It was the price to pay to be with the OGs from around there.
Okay, and now that you're getting older, 18, 19, 20, do you ever try to get a real job?
Yeah, I did. I tried to get a real job before, but when I got a real job and I got comfortable with the job, it was probably about 82. And now everybody is talking about selling crack and how to rock up crack. And, this is the new drug. And, a lot of people who have been selling weed was saying, man, this is, a millionaire's drug. And now, you got guys, Whitey's Enterprise, got millions of dollars. A dude got a house in Laguna. You got Black Mike and Black Dave. They driving Porsches. Everybody call him Harry O, but back then he was Black Mike, Michael Harris. So I got a lot of role models I'm looking at now, and eventually there was one, Freeway Rick, about 83, 84 came around. So I don't want to be like Mike. I don't want to be like Michael Jordan or Michael Jackson, Mike Tyson, none of them. I want to be like Freeway Rick. I want to be like Whitey. I want to be like these guys. So I started selling drugs.
How'd you get involved with that?
Like I said, I had a job, and when I got fired from the job, it was no need for me to look for another job because everybody who I was around had access to people who had kilos of cocaine. So at that point, I gravitated towards that. Like I said, I just started hitting the block by block, trying to figure out which block was the best one for me where I could make the most money until I found one.
Okay, was this in your hood where you were growing up, or was this somewhere else?
No, so the first block I found that was worth a lot of money was actually on Hyde Park and Crenshaw. And it's crazy because that's not my neighborhood, not my area. And I was able to function there for about 8 months before key individuals from that community came to shut me down. And when the key individuals came to shut me down, I started buying my work from other key individuals in that community. And because they were having spats with each other, eventually they burned my place down. They didn't take my life though. They could have killed me, and they didn't. They just burned my house down, and that was a message for me to get out of there. Stole my 6.4 Impala, burned my house. So I moved back, started doing stuff in my own neighborhood. It wasn't a lot of money, and I found another spot